The cliche goes, what you are is God's gift to you. What you make of yourself is your gift to God. And it is as true as it can be. How are you living your life right now? Is it pleasing to the eyes of God? Or is it according to the dictates of the world? In this first set of workshops, let us discover together the truth, goodness, and beauty of living life to the full. A life that is inspired by the Holy Spirit. A life that is free from bondage. And a life that seeks to serve. Because it is for this reason that Jesus came. I have come that you may have life, life to the full.
Hi,
Good evening,
I'm Sonny Manuel,
and I'm Betchy Manuel,
and we're here to share the story of us
raising
raising
a
a pro-life
pro-life
family.
family.
We all know what a family is kasi lahat naman tayo nanggaling sa isang family. And we experience a lot in our own, lalo na yung beginnings, growth, and maturity. And we all get educated and formed in our own families. And as parents, we are the principal and first educators in our family for our children. And being open to life belongs to the very essence of marriage. This means not simply having children, but also the obligation to help them live a fully human life and just they have to come close to God. Sabi nga ni Saint John Paul II, and summarized in his teaching with regards to explaining the characteristic of parents and duty, to educate the children, it is essential. First, it is essential and it is tied to the transmission of human life. Second, it is original and primary with respect to the educational role of others because the relationship of love between parents and children is unique and involves the core of the educational process. And finally, the third one, it is irreplaceable and inalienable. It should never be usurped or can it be completely delegated to others. Hindi natin pwede ibigay sa iba lang. And aware of this reality, the church has always taught that the educational role of parents is of such importance that it is almost impossible to provide an adequate substitute. Well, sadly, the dimming of these truths, sabi nga ni uh, Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI, these truths had led many parents to neglect or even abandon their irreplaceable role to such an extent that he has spoken of the educational emergency, which everyone must strive to remedy. Now, in all this, our aim in raising a family is love. Yun naman totoo, di ba, Ma?
Yeah.
We fell in love with each other and then it passes on through and to our children. And the mutual love of the parents like us is the first school of love for the children. Through their parents' example, children received from young age the ability to love truly, and it transmits a joyful image of love. Paano ba natin ma-describe sa kanila
How we raise a
yeah.
pro-life family. Siguro we can summarize it according to the acronym of Christ.
Okay, so starts with C. Well, C for us is communion. Our family begins with communion. We have one in common, our family, from the union of parents and commitment to each other and every member of the family. It is a reminder of our communion and loyalty to God, who Himself is loyal and always faithful to us. And belonging to this family is a gift, and such we want to maintain the best of this gift in unity relationship. The word we is very important. No, when we are raising the children, it is a powerful force in the family, yung we. It's what anchors children loyalty to us, their parents, and brothers and sisters, and forges a lifelong bond to the parents' convictions of right and wrong. It empowers children's inner voice of conscience for life. Family loyalty saves many teens and young adults from disaster. Well-raised young people will avoid doing wrong things not only because these are wrong, but because of the effect of this to the family and to Christ, to our God.
Yeah. Actually, I only came to realize now when our children mentioned to us how is the effect of doing things together, even just the small things at home, like doing the household chores, playing board games,
Mhm.
just chatting, going to supermarkets together, doing school projects together, praying, especially during calamities. I remember there was a time when there was the strong typhoon.
Mhm.
They enjoyed keeping the house still. So every simple thing,
Oh, you
as
mean,
long as
yeah,
it's done together, it has a great impact on them.
yeah, I remember that time when there was that typhoon. I just asked them to go to the second floor
Pray the
and pray the
rosary.
rosary, which they did.
So it meant a lot to them.
Yeah.
And it builds confidence and help them to have happy dispositions in life. So I just to realize it now when we were actually doing this, preparing for this talk, when I asked them, what activities when you were young were
Mm.
kept in your memories,
Yeah.
which brought positive effects.
Actually, I remember too, ma'am, when we were doing some projects
Yeah, and
for them in school.
yes, and then also because our family takes time also to join meaningful activities together, like
Yeah.
school family arts competition,
Yeah.
or parish sports activities for family, and also mostly MFC activities.
And I think it's most helpful when we try to solve things together.
Yes.
Well, it's an example of that if there are some difficulties that one of our children will experience. So we try to be there and somehow give that we think we are going to do this, we're going to overcome this difficulty. So that helps a lot.
Yeah, because they really feel that they are part of the family.
Yeah, and there's always that someone is going to be next to them to support and help them through. So that's letter C,
Communion.
communion. So the next letter is H, that is humility and honor. Well, humility is having knowledge of the truth about oneself, one's limitations and capabilities, especially the knowledge of being a child of God. Hindi ibig sabihin yung humble ay nakaupo ka na lang sa tabi, na mahiyain, but it's actually what one's dignity is, uh, which image we are patterned from, and we are made in the image and likeness of God. So we have to have this sense and to feel worthy as a person, which starts from home. There is nothing more important than guiding each member of our household toward a sense of their own worthiness. And it is important for parents to help the children learn his identity discover his identity as a child of God and the gift that God gives for his benefit, that he can bring good reputation or honor to himself, to the family, friends, and ultimately back to God. And parents can help harness these skills, capabilities, and the character of the children to benefit others, even in small acts of service and kindness. Family members discover too that serving each other in Christ is primary. That's important. And that service to others in the outside world, sa labas ng bahay, no, is built upon the attitude of of selflessness at home, and that all of life, including the smallest household duty or chore of can be sacred, can be offered.
Yeah. Sunny and I believe that at home, we should recognize the worth and respect the freedom of each member of the family. We believe that when each of us feels our value and worth, it will follow that the perception of life is beautiful, and eventually all our actions, all our decisions will be aligned in protecting our family, since we consider it something beautiful. I remember when most of them are in senior primary school, we started to we started to include them when we make like decisions like where will the family go for summer vacation, or if we need to purchase something. And I remember, and this is we still do during summer break and New Year's Eve. We usually have that sort of family meetings wherein we discuss our highs and lows for the past 6 months, and discuss if there's anything we would like to avoid doing, maintain, or improving our oneself. So this sort of meetings is very helpful to us, because we tend to know what was aside from the everyday communication we have with our children. This is something like long term plan, something that we need to in the future, or something that we need to develop. And even financial obligations, now that they are more mature, even the financial aspect, we also discuss in that meeting. We listen to them, and we respect their inputs as we make decisions.
Well, I would add into this letter H, honor, humility, and honor is really to is encouraging each one to discover what they can do, and if there's something that they cannot do, they just try their best if to pursue, but then do not worry if it takes longer for them to accomplish it. But as long as one keeps on and stay humble, that there's a time that I can still achieve this, as long as I rest that on God, that He will help me out and I can get support, I will be able to do so.
Yeah, in making this, we instill in our children as young as they were that everything, the joy, the peace that we have is from praying. That's what we get when we pray together.
Well, because it makes us realize that we are creatures. We are we're supposed our duty is to honor God with our actions, with our mind, with our heart. And so, yeah, you're right. Praying helps. Praying is very important, and it gives us this heart to acknowledge our being small in the presence of a loving and faithful God. Now let's go to the next one. We have finished with C. That's
Communion.
and then H is humility and honor, and R is rules and could be standards, rules and standards. Every healthy family lives by a set of rules in the home, and some set their standards high standards for attitudes and conduct. Importante kasi meron kang standard kasi kung wala, you just do whatever. Pag if you don't feel like it, okay na yun. So it helps a lot in the conduct when it's directed toward the welfare of others. And when children live by these standards every day for years in repetitive practice, they gradually, with fits and starts along the way, internalize powers of judgment. They know what's right and wrong.
They become responsible.
They have ethical responsibility, gutsy perseverance, and consideration for others. Active family rules form the framework for their growth in character. That is very important. So setting rules at home may sound imposing, but actually becomes guidelines that help in building virtues in children. And why does a healthy family have rules? For one reason, because it has a job to do, a service mission to carry out. Virtues are learned through these rules. What children hear, ang naririnig nila, they mostly forget. Di ba? Sinasabi nga rin, sinabi ko na sa'yo, and then they forget. What they see, they mostly remember. Their visuals. What they do, they understand and internalize. So all the rules seem to fall into many categories, but interconnected. We respect the rights and sensibilities of others. I think it's an example here na we say to everyone, when appropriate, yung magic words, please, thank you, excuse me, I'm sorry, or I give my word. I will do what I can. We all contribute to making our home clean. Some examples: orderly, and a place that is comfortable to live in. We give people information what they have to do so that they can carry out their responsibilities better. And we use electronic media or gadgets only to promote the good, the family welfare, never to work against it. Kasi there's tendency to overuse it, no? Lalo na ngayon. We love and honor our Creator above all things, and we thank Him for His blessings and ask His help for our needs and those of others.
Yeah, setting up the rules in the family help us in teaching our children to become responsible. Of course, when we set rules, we do not just say, this is the rule. We fully explain to them the reason why we have that rules and the consequences if these are not obeyed. But more than that, we let them know that these rules is a manifestation or our way of showing them that we love them and we just want to take care of them and protect them. So when they were young, we already set up some rules like during kindergarten, we allow them to watch TV after they arrive from school for 30 minutes only. Then they have to do their homework afterwards. So even when we are in the office, they really follow that, especially during exams period, because they know the consequences. Like during weekdays, if they prolong their watching of TV, they will lose more time in doing their assignments. Therefore, it will bring them very late to go to bed.
And they get cranky.
Yes, cranky in the morning. During exams period, they will have a hard time in studying and therefore might give them low grades. And also regarding the junk foods, we also give them rules in moderate eating of junk foods, because they know that too much eating of junk foods because it's unhealthy, first of all. And sometimes I tell them that you will grow big just like mom. And also the use of gadgets during weekends. We try to just give them time on how long they can use the gadgets, because they will occupy most of their time if we allow them to use without moderating it. Especially in Hong Kong, where space is too small and there's nothing much that they can do. Another example of the rules is making up their beds and tidying up their toys and books after use. As the children matures, of course, additional rules were given to them, like they don't we do not allow them every time they ask to go out with friends or partying. We do not allow them until they reach such age. And also, another rule is no relationship, no relationship. Yes,
serious relationship when they're studying.
yes, but and another one is
Well,
to dress properly.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Dressing up properly is actually saying a lot about oneself.
Yeah.
Because it tells you how you carry
Yeah.
yourself,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's really tempting for them to be pressured by their friends,
Yes.
by peer pressure that they wanna dress up in showing more skin, and I would ask, is this necessary?
Yeah.
And because you're more attractive if in the way you dress up
Dress.
modestly.
I just realized too now, Pap, that
Yeah.
when we set limits to our children, we also give them the opportunity to practice managing their emotions, because of course there were those times that we do not allow them to go out or to attend a certain party or anything. At first, of course they will feel frustrated and sad and sometimes angry, especially at me. But I just let them to be quiet at times. I give them space until they realize why they were not allowed. And so it gives them the opportunity to manage their emotions. As a mother, personally, I find it hard to draw the line between um, being protective to the point of controlling. And open communication helped a lot, because our children were taught at a young age that they can talk to us anytime about any topic. Of course, there are things we experience also. Our family is not perfect. We experience also some of our children doing things against the rule. But with the conscience, they try to keep it within themselves for some time, but later on they will feel guilty also, and they will reveal it to me or Sunny. And what we talk about, when we talk about it, we keep the respect between us, parents, and the children. We ensure to come up in an agreeable point which both of us will honor. We make sure that when we have that dialogue, we pray for it, we end it with a prayer, and we honor what we agreed upon. Same thing with siblings. Sometimes siblings also, there are misunderstanding, but they try to settle it between themselves also.
I just wanna stress a point, because we said a while ago that uh, we don't allow them to party.
Until such time.
No, I mean we allow them, but we put a time. They attend not evenings, but there's not really party, but get-togethers.
Yeah, we have curfew. We
Yeah.
allow them when they reach the age of what age that we allow them, I think 16. And there's a curfew. Sometimes the curfew is too early, but since we agreed on that, they will follow.
Well, I think we cannot set this kind of standard for every family. But I think for us here in Hong Kong, because of the influence of the culture, because a lot of youths here tend to promote their own freedom. So that's why we are also educating our children that you have to discipline yourself and also to train their conscience. That's why when they make decisions, it's not just we're always checking them this is right or wrong, because the rules only help them at the start, but we explain to them why is it not right to do this, and why is it good in following this, because sometimes some are really with regards um, to um, to their testing if they can stay out a little bit more, but sometimes,
Generally,
yeah, but sometimes we tend uh, to give them some freedom on that,
yeah,
but they have to come back at a certain time. But then the important thing is to make them realize that
to make
uh,
them practice the being responsible. Because
respond,
when
yeah,
we set rules at home, it helps our children to easily follow also rules um, in the outside world, like in schools, in other places. So it makes them easier for them to follow, and they are happy, peaceful, and obedient.
yeah. So I guess for us it's more of explaining to them, so that in the future in their own decisions they would see if this is going to put them at risk, or this is not uh, this is going to be harmful for them, or this is with staying out or going out too late will affect their time after. So in a way, these rules are guidelines for them, and
As long as it's properly explained or
yes,
fully explained, eventually they will understand also why we're doing this.
and we have to also practice as parents this called affectionate assertiveness, and that is we assert the right conduct that they do, and correct the conduct and attitudes by their example, action, and words. At the same time, they're unfailingly we are unfailingly affectionate, no, with the children, and we express it to them. We correct them privately, praise them publicly.
Correct them charitably.
Yes, and then show signs of affection at home, like rubbing their backs,
Yeah.
hugging. Those are part of our rules, not just to prohibit, but also to express our appreciation, our our
Our love for them by
yes,
protecting them.
that's right. So the next letter is
I.
I. That means integrity. Well, integrity speaks a lot, and uh, this is about the congruence of parents' words and actions, because they speak a lot at home. Children are influenced and encouraged more by parents who walk the talk. When you want to say something to the child, he or she looks at you if you're doing it, actually doing so. Children know their parents well. They know them with both their virtues and defects, the good and bad in their parents. However, parents who struggle and fight against these defects give strong examples to their children. So alam naman nila meron tayong mga weaknesses. But the thing is that they see us fighting, trying to overcome this weakness, and acknowledging sometimes we have to say sorry when we make mistakes. We want to raise a family who not only tell the truth but also value integrity. Someone who is completely honest, trustworthy, reliable, dependable, whether others are watching or not. So the goal of us parents is to raise children to run in their lives freely and responsibly, to make them competent too, and to help them make the right decisions and choices in life. I'm sure mayroong mga mali na decision, but we try with that guidance, with our practice, we try to minimize them, those wrong choices. At the end of the day, our children have to live independently and make choices for themselves. And remember that character is not built in a day. Virtues are a result of exercising good habits repeatedly, paulit-ulit. And we parents must show them what are the good qualities and mature behavior in our dealings. I remember I'd like to mention this passage by Saint Josemaria Escriba. Parents teach their children mainly through their own conduct. What a son or daughter looks for in a father or a mother is not only a certain amount of knowledge or some more or less effective advice, but primarily something more important, a proof of the value and meaning of life, shown through the life of a specific person and confirmed in different situations and circumstances that occur over a period of time. If I were to give advice to parents, I would tell them above all, let your children see that you are trying to live in accordance with your faith. Don't let yourselves be deceived. They see everything from their earliest years and they judge everything. Let them see that God is not only on your lips, but also in your deeds. That you are trying to be loyal and sincere, and that you love each other and you really love them too. This is how you will best contribute to making your children become true Christians, men and women of integrity, capable of facing all life situations with an open spirit. That's from Saint Josemaria Escriba.
Actually, I think if children realize that doing good, if about doing good is pleasing to God, then they will realize also that the value is the quality of life is beyond school or work achievements. It's more than that. And when they were young, we let them know that honesty and integrity is more than the wealth or intelligence. Because children nowadays, when you ask them, what would you like to be when you grow up? They will think of it's more often for the boys, usually during birthday parties of our children, when we ask them what would you like to be when you grow up, some will say, I would like to be an engineer. Why? Because I will have plenty of money, I'll be able to buy cars. Or one, I'd like to be a pilot because they say pilot is the highest paid. So as young as they were, the mentality is already focused on financial or
Gain.
oh yes, wealth or intelligence, or I'll become a president. So for our children, we just let them. We allow them to discover by themselves that life is more than that. Our aim is more than that, being wealthy or being intelligent. No, usually when we tell them or when they read with us, when we prepare talks, they will know that they will they will learn that it's just how to make themselves available in the future for God's purposes. So it's really beyond wealth. When children feel good, Bob, about doing what is pleasing to God, I realize that they learn to measure that the quality of life is beyond school or work achievements. As early as kindergarten, we let them know, remember that honesty and integrity is more valuable than wealth or intelligence. We let them understand the consequences of each action and not just saying that he or she cannot do that. And when they exhibit honesty naman, in some instances, we don't let it pass without expressing our appreciation. We allow them to grow from their different relationships as children, grandchildren, sibling, friends, or classmates. We remind them that being disrespectful to others will affect their friendship as well. There were times also that as they get older, they get pressured to succeed in school. We remind them that we will be happy in whatever outcome as long as they do their best.
Yes.
We always appreciate their work for what they have done and not for the recognition that they get. Of course, we experience some concerns too, like one had an early relationship in secondary school, one went out with friends who watch inappropriate movies, one failed to submit school assignments, and other are common concerns of parents. Um, learn, Learning integrity takes practice actually. Children explore. We agree to that. As parents, once we find out or if they reveal to us, we have to make them understand and let them accept the consequences. We have to be consistent when reinforcing values. Dapat walang compromise. We do not just give them books to read also. I remember we also share our life stories when we were young, wherein integrity can be learned also. We always make it as a topic in our casual talks over the dining table so that they'll be able to defend it when they encounter out of home factors, because nowadays there are really many factors that will influence our children. It helps us too as parents to review the things we do and say, because they really learn a lot from us unconsciously. We have to keep our word, especially we should be an example of a person who is hardworking, trustworthy, responsible, and helpful.
I remember about watching movies. There's a time that when we were watching, bigla na lang meron palang hindi magandang scene.
Yeah.
So from then on, I said, from now on, we will check and review movies.
Yeah, they'll be responsible to look for movies that we will watch during our family night.
Wholesome movies.
Yeah, but they have to. Actually, it's a habit already for the older siblings to make
check
the reviews.
Yeah, but I mean, it started when we became aware that
Yes.
not all popular movies, even sabihin natin that are funny,
Yeah.
sometimes they contain scenes or parts that are inappropriate. And I realized that in that in that incident. So from then on, we ask, is this movie okay? Because we don't actually have to watch these movies that we think that is mataas yung rating, because some of them are not. Is actually, they may be entertaining, but as a Christian family, we don't have to follow the tide, and we have to be careful of what we allow in our own homes. We naturally we bring the garbage out, right? We don't bring the garbage in. So some
Yes.
of these are entering our own homes, and it's up to the integrity of a parent to live out this kind of rules, or trying to stay pure, trying to watch out and be vigilant. And then it passes on to them. And I realized, minsan nanonood ako ng, I remember I wanted to watch an action movie. Si ano yata yun yung si Logan, yung si Wolverine. And when I was starting, it's full of expletives. So one of them would say, "Oh, Pa, why are you watching that?" "Oh, anak, I didn't know." "Oh, you should have asked us." No, sila na nagsasabi sa akin because I wasn't very careful when that happened. So it helps a lot.
Actually, I remember, Pop, sorry. Um, Meron akong daughter and I met
Daughter ko rin yun.
I met the one of the parents during PTA assemblies, and I remember one of the mothers told me, "You know, I like your daughter, and I want my daughter to be friend of your daughter." But my daughter was saying that, "Oh, her mom is too strict." And for me, I don't get offended, but because I just want my to protect my daughter. So every time yung mga after school mag-hang out, I really do not allow. In our family, they will always ask my permission first. And then if they think that they can make an appeal, if I say no, and then if they think that they can make an appeal, they will talk to Sunny to get to try if they will be allowed. But those
Well, because in the family, you're a lot stricter than I am.
yeah, especially because I'm hands-on, I know their schedules, I know that
They find me more reasonable.
yeah, he's always the cool pop.
Well, yeah, it's okay to just to listen to them, and there are some things that's reasonable that we can permit them. I just allow it. So I also tell Betchy that it's okay not to be so strict. Let them give them freedom, because anyway they know what is right and wrong, and I'm sure because we trust them. No, it's part of us being parents to trust our children, especially when they're, when we train them, and even if they make mistakes, that's how they learn to say sorry and realize that, oh, I will not do it again. If they're not gonna make mistakes, well, that will be good, but they would not realize the impact of that. So anyway, um, that's how it is for integrity. We try to live out what we want to pass on to our children. And the next one is what?
S
That
for
is
sensitivity.
sensitivity to family members. We see the reality that today that some people, especially the young, weaken in their faith. When they are tested, we need to take into account the pressure of today's environment. For it can be very persuasive and become causes of concern and even anxiety. I remember there were some concerns about cyberbullying, peer pressure, getting more likes and dislikes. They tend to find their identity. I hear about this news when the young are using this social media. Well, uh, this one is actually not a problem at home. Well, anyway, in a family with more than one child, there arises the reality that each child is unique. Actually, we are all unique, and thus requires a certain type of attention different from the other. In such cases, knowing our children well will with their present concerns and struggles helps in accompanying and assisting them with the kind of support most effective to that particular child. Parang the one who needs more attention um, is actually the favored one, no? Yung mas kailangan niya ng tulong.
Yeah.
Having a real interest in our children, in their activities and friends, and carried through in constant affection, checking them, not hindi naman parang you're investigating. They help. We help them in our in communication. Our affection. It helps them to communicate them openly, naturally, in such that it's detectable if something is unusual in their behavior. So there comes a pattern kung lagi natin silang kausap.
They will notice.
We will notice if there's
something's
something's different. And we would like our children to grow up not only with the love of God, but with the love of for other people too. So we have to instill in them that sensitivity. for other people
Yeah.
outside of the home too.
I remember before when we have only two children, Sunny and I thought that teaching them how to be sensitive towards one another, or generally towards everyone at home, it will be a good start of training them to be sensitive with the needs of others. We try to take advantage of every opportunity to build an atmosphere of empathy at home. There are examples like, oh, we started it just like a role playing. We asked the this is the time when we have five children already. So we started it just like a role playing. We asked the first child to look after and be responsible for the second child. Then the second child looks after the third, and same goes on up to the fifth child.
Parang chain of command.
Yes, unconsciously their role synced in them, and eventually they become more sensitive, not only to the sibling next to them but to all of us at home. And it creates good bonding among them. Another good example is helping one another in homeworks or school projects. Whenever we notice that one of them is struggling in his or her homework, we try to we try to talk to the rest of the siblings and ask them if they notice that their brother or sister is struggling. When they answer yes, we give them back the questions on what should we do and what should we do with it, until someone volunteers to help the one who's knowledgeable about it. And this was very effective. Three of them finish university now. One of on her last year, and the youngest is in grade 11. So they took turns in teaching, especially the youngest one. They all took turns in helping one another, not only in school works, but with other responsibilities too, like in church or the community. And now that they are young adults already, they are the ones helping us, especially when it comes to preparing for our PowerPoints or audio presentations. Another example is when we highlight to them how being kind can benefit everyone involved. Like saying, it was very kind of you. Sometimes we notice that they are really helping one another. So we take this as an opportunity to say it was very kind of you to help your sister in finding her book, or and I'm sure she will remember that and would help you too next time when it is you who needs it. So even during mealtime, right? Even
Yeah.
during mealtime, it became a habit for all of us to serve first the person beside us. The one seated nearest to the rice or any food does not get the first scoop. We serve the others first.
Well, also when it comes to being sensitive, they're also sensitive now in helping us. Because before we had a household helper, now we
Yeah.
don't.
Now we
So
don't
they're
have.
now sensitive that they have to pitch in and help out, and it's very consoling that they're able to to understand that they have to help out, and it's not just our duty to clean or to be in the kitchen.
Yeah. That is when they grow older.
Yeah.
Actually, as they get older, it becomes more complicated. We observe that children sometimes need help in understanding what they are feeling. And so we include feelings in our topics over the dining table. We explain the connection of behaviors with the feelings so they would easily understand the cause and effect. We sometimes watch family-oriented movies which tackles emotions, and then we discuss about it afterwards. As much as possible, we expose them to what is happening around us. We bring them with us in our outreach activities. We connect this with their feelings, right?
Mhm.
We ask them what would they do if they are in that situation, and what do they think would make them feel love. So, um,
As I would like to add, I would like to add that being sensitive also, uh, just being really aware of what's happening
yeah,
sa because sometimes they,
That's why we expose them also.
yeah, it's, and we try to let them see some documentaries,
Yeah,
and
yes, yes,
kasi
yes.
sometimes they have discussions in schools and about, right now, discussions about suffering, what's the meaning and purpose of that, and somehow it's, uh, they need to, they sometimes they're confused too.
Yeah,
So minsan naghahanap ako ng videos that would help and assist their understanding in a Christian perspective, para meron silang idea, not just on that particular topic but other topics that are relevant, same sex, um, abortion, there's so many things like yung mga scandals, and
Yeah.
try to explain it to them so that that would help them understand and have a bigger picture.
yeah. Actually, I just realized now signs of empathic concerns in children can be seen even when they are still kids, even toddlers. Because usually kids, they show concern when someone is crying, especially children of their age. So it can, if develop, that it can lead to too much empathy skills later in their lives, and it will make them empathic as an empathic friends, co-workers, and eventually spouse and parents in the future.
Okay, now the last letter is T, transmission of
Mission of
faith.
faith.
This is very important because the reason why we're here is because of our faith, because that's really an important part of our life. We talk about faith, we talk about family, faith, and it's the best legacy that the parents can pass on to the children, to our children. It is the only thing that is truly important since it gives ultimate meaning to our lives. Sabi mo nga kanina, we tend to put value on what would you like to be, what would you be, what your career would be. But we have discussed it, sabi nga ni Father Agustino nun, our goal is to raise our children and bring them to heaven.
Heaven.
Bringing up a child according to God's plan involves more than just teaching doctrines, hindi lang yung catechism. And it also requires transmitting a way of life. In a way, this is also related to integrity. What you believe, it is expressed. There are a number of important ways to pass on the faith. The life of piety within the whole family, closeness to God in prayer, family rosaries. The sacraments are really primary means. So I encourage them to go to confession regularly, and if they can find a spiritual director that can assist them in their spiritual journey. Another key aspect is helping virtues to take root in children. Well, this also builds character. If piety and doctrine are not accompanied by solid human virtues, that is yung napapractice natin, children's thoughts and feelings will end up reflecting the way they live instead of what reason informed by faith dictates to them. One of the parents' goals is to help each child from a young age to experience in the family home the reality that if we let God into our lives, we lose nothing. Absolutely nothing of what makes life free, beautiful, and great. God gives us everything, absolutely everything. To make this a reality in our children's lives, well, let me just make a correction. God gives us absolutely everything that is good for us. He will not, I'm sure He will not give anything that will harm us. To make this a reality in our children's lives, parents need to give clear witness to the joy of a real and authentic Christian life. Parents teach their children mainly through their own conduct. What a child looks for in a parent is not only a certain amount of knowledge or being smart, but a proof of the value and meaning of life. It is more convincing when it is seen and lived out. Again, has to do with integrity. Personal testimony should be evident at all times, and giving examples to children with naturalness, simplicity without any show. So it helps a lot. Minsan, why do you sprinkle holy water at home? Well, we need that. It helps us. It's not superstitious. Those are sacramentals and I have to explain. So hindi ako nahihiya. And then right now, before parang it's kind of different para sa kanila when I started it, but then I realized it's nothing. It's nothing. It's ordinary for anyone who believes in the sacraments and sacramentals.
It helped a lot when we brought our children to different community and parish activities. They were exposed to liturgical celebrations, praise and worships, teachings, and even our household meetings. They were very young then. They got curious on what we were doing and what we were talking about because they were just toddlers then. So we took the advantage of teaching them about Christ. When they expressed their curiosity after every time we attend Mass, we told them stories and let them watch short movies for children about trusting God in everyday life and that He is the source of everything. Akala natin mahirap lang, but when you try to start it, it will follow naturally. And that in return, we have to love Him not only through prayers, but through our actions towards other people too. We presented the learning process in an exciting way, mostly through games, movies, and storytelling. I remember that the game they loved before was the Q&A, wherein 4 of them, because the 5th one is still a baby, so 4 of them will stand at one corner of the house, one side of the house, and they will take a step forward. One step forward when answered correctly. Usually, mga Bible quizzes, yung mga Bible
passages.
Yung
Bible
questions. So when they answered correctly, they will take a step forward until someone touches the finish line. Of course, we prepare small prizes lang, like stationeries or ice cream or cookies. And as soon as their age is acceptable, we usually enroll them. We immediately enroll them in catechism class. Then when we reach home after the class, Sonny usually asks what they learned, and then Sonny will give additional points for them to better understand what the topic was. So we are really involved. As they grow older, we introduced longer prayers like the Rosary, the Litany, and we did it creatively too. I remember nung mga bata pa sila, we buy easy read Bible stories and Christian literatures, yung with colorful pictures, with drawings. And for the Rosary, since that's the beginning, we brought them to a religious store and they choose their rosary in their favorite color. So sometimes we pray the rosary. You know, the attention span of children is very short. So when we pray the rosary, we started with 1 decade first, then 2 decades until it's full na. And we allow them to walk inside the house to prevent them from playing or from falling asleep. We teach them how to lead also because we felt that it excites them whenever they have to say something. So later on, we do the pilgrimage. We walk outside through parks until we reach the chapel nearest to our place. So as they grow older, especially Sonny, he encouraged them and bring them to sacrament until it becomes a habit for them, especially going to confession. And it helped us parents to study about God and to be creative in presenting it to our children in a way that it will not come out like yung hard sell. Kasi pagpilit, and just like us, both of us, we grew in a Catholic. We studied Catholic school. We grew up attending Sunday masses. But it's only until we get buried that we were able to understand why we were doing those things. So at present, I'm thanking and praising God that our 5 children are continuously attending the sacraments and formation teachings inside and outside the missionary families of Christ. They are very active too in serving both the church and the community. Sunny and I believe that transmitting the faith to our next generation is a guarantee of a peaceful, helpful, and joyful life for the future of humanity and of the church.
Well, transmitting faith to our children is primary. Malaking bagay na uh, lumago ang kaalaman nila about God, about the family that we have in heaven, and where we are going after this life. So all their actions, whatever they do, it's not just about the doctrine, but also having that relationship that whatever they do, they can offer it up to Christ. They can ask Our Lady and offer it up uh, through her. And whatever they do, God watches them, and even the failures, if they have them, they can offer it up so that they realize and they know that God is always present, not only in their joys, but especially in their sorrows to help them out, and that they can always trust God that He will be there for them. Kasi hindi naman forever tayo nandito. So, for us, transmitting the faith makes us more confident that as they live this faith, they practice it, and they find that it's the reason, and somehow understand, hindi naman natin maintindihan lahat. They realize that is really the value, the importance of it, and that this life that of faith, of having this pro-life attitude lived in our own homes is going to be transmitted also in their own families in the future. And while it's not yet happening, they can transmit it to friends, because whatever we all do at home is seen outside. So it's whatever a child is or us, it's a reflection of what we are practicing at home. And our family should be our primary investment. Raising the family well gives a rise to a lot of satisfaction, but also
But also disappointments.
that's right. Meron disappointments and worries. That's part of it. But we should not be discouraged, because that is part. There are good and bad, but always the good overcomes, or mas marami, as we look at those probably seemingly bad things, because they're also helpful in raising our own families. And parents should always be there for the children. Habi nga, we don't stop. We keep praying. There are parents probably who only realize this now, but they can still continue to pray for their child, their children, not to stop. And with optimism, faith, and hope, we can always begin once more
Yeah.
with in training themselves, in training us. And there's no effort ever wasted, even though results could appear to be late in coming, or we could not see it in our own lives.
Yes.
We just plant the seeds for our children. Being a father or a mother is a mission that never ends. Our children always need our prayers and affection, even when they are already on their own, living independently. Especially Our Lady, as an example, did not abandon Jesus when he was on the cross. No, she's an example. Her example of self-giving and sacrifice right to the very end provides light for the inspiring task that God entrusts to us as parents, as mothers and fathers. And a bright and cheerful home is a natural environment where the value of life and family is experienced, and it creates an ideal and authentic path to happiness and to really appreciating the family and the life that God has provided for us.
So that's our story. That's how we built and still building our family, which is pro-life. At first, we thought it's
You know, it's not,
difficult.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
akala
thought,
namin imposible. Pero pwede naman pala.
pwede, as long as we, you just keep that vision, that goal. I would like my family to live close to Christ, to be to be a family that is built on faith. I guess it has to start from me, being the dad, the father, and also syempre with the mom, with the wife, and the love that we have for one another that God blessed in the sacrament is the start, because we are channels of that grace, and we are also channels of grace for our children. So
That's
um, keep loving our family, and the Lord is always there to give the help that we need.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to our story.
God
God
bless.
bless.
God bless your families.